The ideas that
for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Consider myself a conspiracy buff at all, but when they get a lot of coincidences, I get a little suspicious and call me crazy.
Polls, weird talk shows, crazy groups every Sunday telling you what you think.
The Republicans and the Democrats conspire with one another, which they do.
There is a conspiracy by big business against American democracy.
We know that there was a conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
There was no conspiracy.
Was there a conspiracy?
A communist conspiracy directed out of Moscow.
The right-wing conspiracy.
Communist conspiracy is a deliberate and predictable plan of action to subvert the world.
Right-wing
It's an
conspiracy.
international criminal conspiracy.
Vast right-wing conspiracy.
Great conspiracy.
All these conspiracy
Was there a
theories.
conspiracy? I don't know.
Perhaps themselves even involved in the conspiracy.
There was
a conspiracy.
No evidence
Of a conspiracy.
Anybody would have to be a fool nowadays to dismiss conspiracies.
Conspiracy theory.
Cockeyed conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory exists because there really is conspiracy.
But they never told a soul about it. In fact, they engaged in a vast conspiracy.
Since you get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, of being a
The
paranoid.
historical context of actual conspiracy.
A conspiracy of bad people.
As always happens at some point in a conspiracy, one night Cousin Eddie got drunk in a honky-tonk and spilled the beans.
There was a conspiracy and government was involved in it.
conspiracy existing within the United States government.
There was a conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy by the CIA.
The conspiracy of a few.
Dark, secretive, conspiratorial, evil.
Then it was certainly a deliberate conspiracy.
High-level conspiracy.
The do's and the don'ts and the rights and the wrongs and the various conspiracy theories that are good.
Possibility of a conspiracy.
In a moral sense, I think it was a conspiracy.
One conspiracy, that's all I'm talking about.
Full of speculation, conspiracy theories, and the like. And what's going on here?
You began to wonder what was really happening in America. I mean, was there a vast conspiracy afoot?
You know, there could have been a conspiracy.
Do you think you're obsessed with conspiracy?
Conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy.
I'm afraid you'll catch me. I'm afraid you'll catch me.
A conspiracy would do the job nicely.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of your favorite Monday night show, and most likely your favorite show overall, Baseless Conspiracies. As always, I am joined by Zak Paine. Zak, how are you doing, sir? How's the weekend?
Weekend was good. Picked our son up from the airport, so he's currently visiting.
Nice.
Yeah. Got a chance to hang out. We went to this really awesome restaurant called Alexander's last night in Ormond Beach. It was so good.
What do they serve?
Steakhouse. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What'd you
And
get?
well, I got halibut. Eric got the steak, but he got a New York strip, and normally I would get like a ribeye or something like that, because it's like, that it's going to be juicy, it's going to be flavorful, but this was literally like the best New York strip I've ever eaten. Like, the meat was perfect. It was cooked perfectly. The flavor was good. They had this thing where, when they came out, they were telling us about where they get their beef, and I forgot the name, but they said it was in the top 3% of U.S. beef. It's out of Chicago someplace. I figured that's got to be a branding thing. I could probably look it up, and or maybe somebody in the chat would know who it is, but it was really good. And the halibut was good too, man.
Yeah, how do you get Like, what separates the top 3% of beef from the rest of it?
Probably, I mean, I would imagine it's like the quality and care of the beef while they're alive, so that when they butcher them, and then, you know, maybe the manner in which they're butchered, so that they're not like freaking out and their bodies are flooded with stress chemicals and stuff.
Sure. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, good steak. You can't really ever beat it.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
for sure.
Babbage says marbling, but a New York strip's not going to have marbling. I mean, it was just a cut of beef. You know, I mean, like, definitely that's one of the reasons I like ribeyes, is because, you know, you're going to have good marbling in there. And they did have Wagyu and stuff like that, but man, some of the steaks, dude, were like $300. And I was like, no, that's good, dude. I'm not paying that much for a steak.
$300?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a big steak, but even still, like, I want to say they had like a 34-ounce tomahawk, bone-in tomahawk.
Aren't those the ones that they age for like 30 days?
They were dry aged, yes.
Yeah, that does sound good, but I would never spend that much money on a steak.
Hell no. No, I was like, I don't know. I don't have that kind of money to spend on a steak. I mean, the fish was like $50, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's like pushing the high end right there for me. So, yeah, grass fed, definitely grass fed, probably, you know, free range. They're allowed to live a good life, all kinds.
Yeah, well, that's good. Curious, you know, I don't want to go into detail on this, and we don't even have to talk about it at all. I know it's Monday. You do 2 shows. This is your 3rd show. You've already talked about the Trump assassination attempt quite a bit. I did Saturday DPH with Chris, talked about it, and I also talked about it a little bit today on my show. But if you want to mention anything that you haven't said yet, now's your opportunity. It is Baseless Conspiracies, after all.
I don't think that there's anything that I haven't said yet about it, but certainly I think that the Henry Martinez account on Twitter was pretty interesting.
Was that the one that like said his name?
Yeah,
he posted 3 years ago or something.
Yeah, he joined Twitter in December of 2023, and then the only tweet that he put out was Cole Allen. And the name, well, Henry Martinez was a guy who worked at JPL when Cole Allen was there for a summer internship in 2014. So you've got, you know, 9 years later. And, you know, I mean, theoretically, let's say Cole Allen had been planning something like this for some time, but you go back and look at his tweet archive, and like the night of the election in 2024, he was predicting Kamala Harris was going to win all of the swing states and 3 red states. And then within 3 days, he had rage quit Twitter and said that he was leaving. Okay. So I don't necessarily think that he would have started this account with the name of some dude that he worked at NASA a year prior to the election, and then, you know, thought, just in case in a couple of years I want to try an assassination attempt, I'm going to create this mystique about myself. I mean, that it's possible, right? It's possible. I think it's far-fetched. But the image that he used as his background, I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that looks to me like there's a picture in that digital noise. And when you overlay the Butler fight picture over it, like, I'll be damned if that shit does not fit. And that picture, that original image is from 2022.
Well, I did not look into any of that. I did see the post, the Twitter thing.
Yeah.
As I kind of mentioned on my show today, I don't know whether it's real. I don't know whether it's fake, and I honestly don't care either way. Either way, we'll never find out the truth about any of this stuff, but it is fun. I love when these like traumatic, if you want to call it that, events happen, because social media loses its mind.
Yeah.
And we're seeing everybody like at each other's throats. Nobody knows how to respond. The people who've like built their entire following and an identity off of like full control have now switched to like, well, maybe it's not full control. You can't say that stuff anymore. And so like there's a schism in the Q movement, which is kind of funny to watch.
I definitely noticed that.
It's all hilarious. So yeah. And now everybody's using it to build the ballroom, which kind of saw that coming. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Congress is trying to have taxpayers fund the ballroom now, though, which is stupid because Trump said he was getting it privately funded, and Congress is like, we need to pass a bill to fund this or to like build the ballroom. You didn't see that? Rand Paul is like, I'm introducing a bill tomorrow to build the ballroom.
Oh my God. Like, why? Like, the money's there, guys. Just let him fucking finish.
Yeah.
And
Maybe they will keep with the private funding, but I'm assuming if Congress is going to get involved, they're going to earmark public dollars for it. So we'll see what happens there.
So I will tell you this, John. One of there's several reasons why I don't think this is it. I guess, there's different kinds of fake, right? It doesn't. I think certainly this was planned. Whether it's just Cole Allen or him and some other people, who knows? Maybe that stuff comes out. That would be awesome. But I don't buy that it would be President Trump like setting this up simply to get people to allow him to build the ballroom. I mean, like that's basically already been decided in court. And even if he had gained some sympathy from people who don't currently like him, I think that the court fights would continue trying to stop him from building the ballroom. But most of all, Cole Allen's still alive. And anytime there is somebody else who can be implicated, they make sure that sucker's dead, right off the rip. Okay. And that didn't happen this time. So the dude's, he's going to be able to talk, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Ty in the chat, 12 Indie Boy says, I do care if it's fake. Good guys faking stuff is just as bad as bad guys doing bad stuff. I will agree with that. Either way, like somebody's lying to us. What I mean by I don't care. It's more so whenever these things happen, I've gotten to the point where I realize we are very unlikely to ever figure out the truth. And I'm just not going to spend the bandwidth on trying to figure it out. Like eventually, maybe a couple of years from now, we'll get some sort of story on it or whatever that they'll call we finally got to the bottom of what really happened. We'll worry about it then. But I'm more so just curious to see how the narratives play out and the psyops surrounding it. And I love watching the social media freak out.
So true deplorable. And I saw Josh suggest this, and I talked about this a little bit on my show. Josh says the X profile and post was probably Cole Allen, which I just said, because he thought he wouldn't make it out alive and MAGA Anons would find it while digging. I mean, why really? I mean, it's just a little bit complicated. He already wrote a manifesto and he handed it out to everybody. I mean, he had no problem telling people. But the other thing is he would have to have someone that he knew inside Twitter, right? I mean, he would have to have an inside man. And if that's the case, then that's going to come out. I don't think that they're going to be able to hide that. Certainly, I would imagine anybody investigating this is going to look at that account and ensure that it really has been online since 2023. I think it's unnecessarily complicated. And
things are.
The other possibility is that time travel's real, and somebody who knew what was going to go on went back to 2023, created that account, posted that, knowing that somebody was going to find it after the event took place, used that image of President Trump. They embedded the Butler image in it, brought it back to 2022, posted it on a website which is called the Awkward Asian Theologian. So then it could be picked up by timemachine.eu and used in a blog post on their website.
What the fuck are you talking? I'm so confused. What?
Okay, this is the full path of all of this. The whole thing is so ridiculously complicated. For this to have been thought out, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, this image. Okay. Let's go full conspiracy mode.
Dumb it down for me, please.
Okay. Let's say time travel is real.
Okay, right. So that's like an assumption I have to have right now to.
That's the assumption you have to go full conspiracy theory. Okay.
All right, I'm all in.
All right. So time travel is real.
Amen.
All right. This image in Henry Martinez's background traces back to a website called timemachine.eu. Okay. And it was posted in 2022, April 2022 on timetravel.eu. It was also posted in April of 2022 on awkwardasiantheologian.com. Okay. Now I can't tell you which one came first because timemachine.eu has deleted the post. It's not there. I haven't been able to find a archive.
Have you tried going back in time to find it?
I haven't, because unfortunately I don't have access to a time machine. But let's say that time travel is real. So the person from the future who knows that there was going to be this attempt on President Trump's life goes back in time, first of all, to 2022, to have it posted on these multiple websites. He must know the awkward Asian theologian, and he must know someone at timemachine.eu. Okay. And then he goes ahead to 2023, starts a Twitter account with the name of someone who Cole Allen worked with for a summer at JPL in the midst of a JPL missing scientist conspiracy, which is going on right now. All right. And then posts the name and then bounces, takes off. And then Cole Allen, none the wiser. He's already planning on doing this because he's totally obsessed with all of the fake narratives that the media has planted in his mind, keeping in mind everyone that the Central Intelligence Agency might have, in one respect, shut down MKUltra when they got found out. But then they took everything they learned from MKUltra and they funneled it into civil society, okay? Mainstream media, entertainment, pop culture, music, all right? They just took all of the lessons of MKUltra and they fed it into everything that people have. And that's why we have generations of brainwashed people who simply are easy to manipulate and don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, okay? And so now either it's that or Cole Allen has a friend at Twitter and also thought, well, gosh, I know that by doing this, I'm going to make somebody like Zak Paine go out of his mind finding all of these different connections to this shit. And that's it. So I don't know which one's easier to believe, you know, especially when you understand that Uncle John Trump went and picked up the Tesla papers for the FBI. And you've also got somebody who allegedly went back in time and wrote those books about the marvelous adventures of Barron Trump and the last president. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can look at this, but I feel like the Cole Allen making this account just because he wanted people to be twisting in the wind when he already wrote a manifesto. I mean, that's just as complicated and, you know, insane for somebody to do.
I don't know, man. I think you sold me on the time travel thing. That makes total sense. That was perfect. I see no holes in that theory. I think it's exactly what happened. And I think we should all start telling everybody that's what happened too. Are people actually like saying that's what they're saying about this?
No, I mean, I've seen people suggesting that there must be time travel involved.
Because of this thing?
Well, because of everything I explained. I mean, I will say that this image is difficult to explain, okay? And if it was Cole Allen, how did he know and go and create that account and include this image, which has the embedded file of President Trump's butler incident, which didn't take place until a year after this account was created, and the images hail from 2 years before Butler actually happened. I mean, explain all of that. You know, did Cole Allen?
I don't have to explain anything.
No, you don't. You don't.
I think people, whenever these things happen, people just overanalyze the shit out of everything, and they want to, especially like they don't want to believe this stuff is real or possible. Like there are people, the full control movie type mindset that people have, I feel like it's broken their brains in ways because everything you just said there, dude, like, come on. But there are people out there that think this, that it's all like faked and planned and time travel and all these things just to wake up the normies. Like, get a grip, guys. I mean, come on.
And don't get me wrong. I don't think that what I just laid out there, I think that's the least likely scenario that could possibly happen. And I would have real trouble straining credulity to explain why President Trump would even want to do something like that. At this point, okay, the ballroom's going to happen anyways. He doesn't need anybody to like feel sorry for him or to like him or to vote for him again. Like he is here for the duration and he wouldn't need to do something like that. And because the ballroom is being paid for with private donations, he doesn't need to convince Congress to pass a law. I think that's a total non sequitur. Why is Rand Paul even getting involved with that? Like, that's total bullshit.
It's grifting. Like all these people do is grift. Like there's a huge amount of momentum for Trump right now because of this. Yeah. And so you're going to see Congress, people who, you know, with the midterms coming up, those dastardly midterms, they're going to grift off of Trump stuff. And the ballroom has been a Trump thing from the beginning. Even though he keeps posting about how for the last 150 years, everybody everywhere has just been talking about how badly we need a ballroom at the White House, but for some reason we haven't had one. And Trump's the guy that's finally going to get it done. No, that's not true at all. I haven't heard a single person ever since I've been alive talk about a White House ballroom till this term of Trump. And so to see Congress come on board with that now, like it's total grifting. It's like what Anna Polina Luna does is every time she comes out there, like Trump says, hey, we're going to declassify alien files. Now all of a sudden she's like, we got to discuss all this stuff. And on all the news and all these channels talking about the UAPs and all that stuff. She's done that with every freaking major issue. That's all they do. It's the grifting. Anyway, I don't want to talk about I don't ever want to hear those words ever again, Zach. The time travel, Cole Allen, whatever you just said. It was
the perfect time to bring it up.
Great for baseless conspiracies. I'll say that.
It is perfect for baseless conspiracies, but I mean, I don't think President Trump would need to fake something like this. It's nonsensical. Like, I mean, if they wanted to drum up some sympathy for somebody, they would have done a assassination attempt on JD Vance. And then they would have spent the next 2 years like heralding him as the, logical spiritual succession to MAGA. All right. And then they would keep the mystique going about him so that, when it comes time, people would rally around. Oh, we got to protect JD. I mean, we've got to make sure JD's okay because they're going to kill him. It's so obvious. They want to get rid of him because they're scared of him. And JD is the only guy that can do it after Trump. That's the kind of thing that they would do. But they wouldn't do that. Yeah. I don't think they need to do that.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, how about we get a quick word from our sponsors of tonight's show, and then we'll get back into the Obama Brennan, Obama body count Brennan story situation.
Yes.
And anything else you guys in the chat want us to talk about. But first up, let's get a quick word from Soft Disclosure.
I am a Kung Fu master. Why do you not respect me? You want to fight me? I will fight you to your death. Do you want to tame the mane that is your ugly beard? Do you want your beard to feel silky smooth? You want to make it illustrious like my Kung Fu beard? Then you need Soft Disclosure beard oil. SoftDisclosure.com. Promo code Badlands.
A soft disclosure on your beard. Many lady come to you.
SoftDisclosure.com. Promo code Badlands. Get after it, guys.
And all of the new viewers out there, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah. Hit that thumbs up, by the way, guys. And also do us a quick favor, if you don't mind. I'm going to post the link in the chat. It's very helpful if you guys go and just give us a quick thumbs up over on YouTube. I'm going to do better today about monitoring our YouTube chat as well and giving them a little love.
Okay.
But one more sponsor, real quick. We have Rumble Wallet. You guys, speaking of YouTube, one thing that sucks about YouTube, not only are they basically communists and deplatformed us and demonetized us many, many times, but when you super chat over there, they can take up to 50%. It's why we created the Badlands boosts. They're not the only platform that does it that way, too. It's Twitch, these other ones out there, Rumble, even with Rumble rants, they can take up to 20%. But Rumble recognized the issue, and they created a method where you can donate to your favorite streamers here at Badlands and give us nearly 100% of that donation. They take 0 fees. You can super chat with Bitcoin, Tether USD, or even Tether Gold, and the tip will show up in the chat like a regular Rumble rant, and we'll read it. All you need to do is go to wallet.rumble.com or download the Rumble wallet in the App Store, throw a little Bitcoin or Tether Gold in there, and then send it our way. It's a great way to support Rumble, support Badlands Media, and not have to pay any of the fees. All your donation will go directly to the creators, which is what you're intending to do with that donation anyway. So it's an amazing way to get rid of the middleman and help the creator economy. Big shout out to Rumble for making this disruptive technology. And all right, man, with that, what do you say we start plugging away?
Okay, so First of all, I want to start with this letter that I found from a former CIA officer by the name of Sam Faddis. And because it has some interesting stuff in regards to John Brennan's career. Now, I mentioned before, John Brennan was not particularly prestigious at the CIA. He didn't hold a lot of power. He wasn't like a field officer or anything like that. But let me just read you the letter itself. So he says, "Dear Mr. Brennan, I implore you to cease and desist from continuing to attempt to portray yourself in the public media as some sort of impartial critic concerned only with the fate of the Republic. I beg you to stop attempting to portray yourself as some sort of wise, all-knowing intelligence professional with deep knowledge of national security issues and no political inclinations whatsoever."
Who's writing this?
Sam Faddis. He was a former CIA officer. Sam continues, "None of this was true. You were never a spy. You were never a case officer. You never ran operations or recruited sources or worked the streets abroad. You have no idea whatsoever of the true nature of the business of human intelligence. You have never been in harm's way. You have never heard a shot fired in anger. You were, for a short while, an intelligence analyst. In that capacity, it was your job to produce finished intelligence based on information provided to you by others. The work of intelligence analysts is important. However, in truth, you never truly mastered that trade either. In your capacity as an analyst for the Central Intelligence Agency, you were still a junior officer. You were designated to brief the President of the United States, who was at that time Bill Clinton. As the presidential briefer, it was your job to read to the president each morning finished intelligence written by others based on intelligence collected by yet other individuals, period. While serving as presidential briefer, you established a personal relationship with then President Bill Clinton. End of story. Now, I thought this was particularly interesting because this is the first time I ever learned that Bill Clinton and John Brennan had any kind of a personal relationship. I had only ever seen him discussed in terms of his relationship with Barack Obama, and then also the work that he did in the George W. Bush administration. He basically wrote the book on waterboarding and how to torture people, right?
Yeah, but he was giving the presidential daily briefings to Bill Clinton?
Yes, he was. Yes,
that is kind of fascinating.
It is definitely fascinating. So he continues by saying, everything that has transpired in your professional career since that time has been based on your personal relationship with the former president, his wife Hillary, and their key associates. Your connection to Obama was, in fact, based on you having established yourself by the time he came to office as a reliable, highly political Democratic Party functionary. All of your commentary in the public sphere is on behalf of your political patrons. It is no more an impartial analysis than would be the comments of a paid press spokesman or attorney. You are speaking each and every time directly on behalf of political forces hostile to this president. And this is in regards to President Trump at the time that Sam is writing this. You're currently on the payroll of both NBC and MSNBC, two of the networks most vocally opposed to President Trump and his agenda. There is no impartiality in your comments. Your assessments are not based on some sober judgment of what is best for the nation. They are based exclusively on what you believe to be in the best interests of the politicians with whom you have long since allied yourself. It should be noted that not only are you most decidedly not apolitical, but that you have been associated during your career with some of the greatest foreign policy disasters in recent American history. Ever since this president was elected, there has been a concerted effort to delegitimize him and destabilize him, led by you. This has been an unprecedented to undermine the stability of the republic and the office of the presidency. For solely partisan political reasons, you and your patrons have been complicit in this effort at its very heart. You abandoned any hope of being a true intelligence professional decades ago and became a political hack. Say so.
What year was this written?
This would have been, I don't know the exact, actually, hold on. I can actually tell you. if I go to... Well, I might have to go to an archived version of this website. Hold on.
I mean, if you can't find it, that's fine. I'm just curious.
I mean, it would have been in President Trump's first term.
Okay, that's what I figured.
2018 looks like it first came online.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what month?
October.
Okay, so I'm trying to think the timing of when the...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. July 24th, 2018. The archive that I found is from October.
Okay.
Published July 24th.
I'm pretty sure. When did the Russiagate stuff die down? That was May of, I think, or April of 2019. They announced that there weren't going to be charges, put out the report. So it was after that. But yeah, interesting timing.
So might want to add a couple of these in. The foreign policy disasters. As CIA director for Barack Obama, you presided over the Iran nuclear deal, which allowed Iran to escape from decades of containment and set the Middle East on fire. You watched while Russia annexed Crimea and then reestablished itself as a hostile force in the Middle East. You dithered and tinkered with organizational wiring diagrams at headquarters while China annexed and fortified the entire South Sea. To the extent that you are directly tied to the Clintons, Barack Obama, and the Democrat Party, is clearly evident in the emotional nature of your recent commentary. And here's a quote from Rand Paul. John Brennan started out his adulthood by voting for the Communist Party presidential candidate. He is now ending his career by showing himself to be the most biased, bigoted, over-the-top, hyperbolic, sort of unhinged director of the CIA we've ever had. Which I feel is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What is this in regards to?
This is a really good comment in the chat. You said before this, no wonder Jesus hates liars. Government proves it. You can ignore the truth, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring the truth. And I just like the sound of that quote.
That is good.
All right. Ignore the truth these days. So the hard part is even figuring out what the truth is. Anyway, continue.
All right. So I think it's arguable that the torture, the legalized torture that John Brennan implemented during the war on terror had a lot to do with American, with the sentiment towards America, especially coming out of the Middle East. And of course, during Operation Timber Sycamore, which I mentioned briefly last week, which is the reason why Ambassador Chris Stevens, I believe, was killed in Benghazi. So Stevens, at the behest of Hillary Clinton, was overseeing illegal arms deals from Libya into Syria. And during this time, he had essentially transferred these U.S.-made Stinger missiles to Ansar al-Sharia in Libya. And there was no congressional oversight. That, like, nobody knew, basically. It was like Hillary Clinton, and I'm sure that Barack Obama, I'm sure that John Brennan knew as well, because he had, ties to this region. And they were transferring these missiles into essentially, Al-Qaeda proxies, which were then being used. This is before they came up with ISIS, which were then being used to try to take out Bashar al-Assad in Syria. So it went bad in July of 2012 because a Chinook, a U.S. Chinook, was taken down by one of these U.S. Stinger missiles. And the deal, this is, we've talked about this guy before, but Mark Turry, do you remember him? He was a private arms dealer. So he was the one who was actually procuring the Stingers through Stevens, and then Stevens would arrange to get them into get them into Syria through these terror proxy groups in Libya. And obviously all of them didn't make it. But when this Chinook was taken down, they went after Mark Turry, and they tried to prosecute him because they had to have somebody to blame. And obviously it couldn't come back to Obama, and it couldn't come back to Hillary. And they were worried that if it came back to Ambassador Stevens, well, then obviously Stevens might decide to save his own skin. So after this Taliban group shot the Chinook down, the reason that they could trace it back to the missiles that Touré had gotten into the hands of Stevens at the behest of Hillary Clinton was because the person who shot it didn't arm the missile. So it took down the helicopter, but the serial number on the missile was still visible. It hadn't been destroyed. And because it hadn't been destroyed, that allowed for that particular missile to get traced back to CIA missiles that were being held in Qatar prior to them being transferred into the hands of these terrorists.
How is that not a bigger story?
Well, this is the bigger story, but this is why they had to do Benghazi. Because, of course, the entire U.S. embassy being taken out by terrorists, for I don't even remember what the final reason was, but initially they said that it was a video about Muhammad or something like that. They said, this organic protest popped up, and this is what happened. But so Christopher Stevens, Ambassador Stevens, was sent to Benghazi to get the rest of the Stinger missiles back. And if he wasn't able to get these missiles back, then obviously the whole operation could have been blown wide open and it would have gone right back up to Hillary and to Obama. So this is why they had issued the stand down order, because they were like, okay, so what are we going to do? We could potentially not be able to get all of these missiles out. Everything would be exposed. We've already had this one missile get traced back to our CIA missiles. The Benghazi attack begins to happen, and they say, you know what? It's better to just let them burn, because then, of course, all of the missiles are going to get stolen. Everything will be taken. And these may have been CIA missiles, but it was the State Department at Hillary Clinton's behest that actually provided them and gave them to people that were, arguably the enemies of the United States at that time. And they had already tried to do the deal through the CIA, but General Petraeus was in charge at that point, and he wouldn't approve the transfer of these missiles because he knew how deadly they were against not only U.S. military aircraft, but obviously also commercial aircraft. So,
Zach, real quick, when did they find out? Was it after Benghazi that they found out about the missile being CIA?
I believe that it was before, because the Chinook was taken down prior to that. And if I had to guess, I would say it was right in close proximity. Let me see if I can get an exact date.
Did you ever see the movie about Benghazi with
I did, yeah, 13 Hours.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's a good movie.
Okay, so the Chinook takedown. Okay, so here's an article from 2010, and it looks like it came out in the Afghan war logs. U.S. covered up fatal Taliban missile strike on Chinook.
What year was that?
This was in 2010. And this is an article I'm looking at from The Guardian.
But the Benghazi, was that 2012?
That was 2012, yes. So there was some time in between. But
so then, do we really know that the Benghazi thing was because of the Chinook missile?
Well, the rest of the missiles were in Libya, and Christopher Stevens was sent there to get it. Mark Touré is alive, okay, and he was talking because the DOJ tried to go after him, and he basically came out as a whistleblower and said, I'm going to tell everybody everything, because they were trying to indict him as an illegal weapons trafficker, but he had all of the licensing necessary to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, all right. So this Taliban shot down a Chinook helicopter over Helmand in 2007 and killed 7 soldiers, including a British military photographer. This is from the Afghan war logs that were published by WikiLeaks. The strike on the twin rotor helicopter shows the Taliban enjoyed sophisticated anti-aircraft capabilities earlier than thought. And the suspected Stinger missile was the same kind supplied by the CIA to Afghan rebels in the 1980s. It was shot down on 30th of May 2007 after dropping troops at strategic Kajeki Dam in Helmand, where the British were leading an anti-Taliban drive. Everyone aboard died, including 28-year-old Corporal Mike Gilliott of the Royal Military Police. Later that day, NATO and U.S. officials suggested the helicopter, codenamed Flipper, had been brought down by a rocket-propelled grenade, effectively a lucky hit. It's not impossible for small arms fired to take down a helicopter, NATO spokesperson said. A U.S. official said it had probably been brought down by a rocket-propelled grenade, but U.S. pilot logs show they were certain the missile was not an RPG and was most likely a man-pad, the military term for a shoulder-launched surface-to-air missile. Witness statements from Chalk 3, another aircraft, suggest Flipper was struck by a man-pad, it read in the logs from the pilots. Those fears were confirmed by 2 Apache attack helicopters hovering over the crash site that came under fire from more missiles twice in 30 minutes. Both missiles missed, and the pilots subsequently reported that they were not an RPG, but probable first-generation man-pad. Clearly, the Taliban were attempting to take down an Apache after downing the CH-47. The crash and its handling highlights steadily escalating U.S. worries amid a stream of intelligence reports, also captured in the files that suggest the Taliban were being supplied with missiles from Iran and Pakistan.
Yeah, in one of my articles I read about the Benghazi thing, my part 10, I'm just going back through and rereading some of the articles that I sourced in there. Only 7 of the 30 Americans evacuated from Benghazi had any actual connection to the State Department. The rest were all CIA. Like, it was almost entirely a CIA operation. I wonder if we'll ever actually get the truth, because the narratives we have about that probably aren't true.
Oh, no, of course. I mean, the whole thing was orchestrated and massaged, but well, I mean, we were just talking about this before the show, but Grassley has just handed a whole bunch of Clinton and Clinton Foundation related documents to the FBI and the DOJ. And I mean, there has obviously been ample reasons for full-on investigations to be opened up on Hillary Clinton over the years.
Well, the FBI already had those documents. It was their predicate documents for opening an official investigation into it, and they go through, and it's going to be really juicy. I've read through about half of it. I've skimmed the whole thing, and then I started reading in detail about halfway through so far. And they go through a lot of Peter Schweitzer's book and like the allegations in there and how much money the Clintons were getting from foreign entities into the Clinton Foundation and how they had to like refile their 5 years of tax returns. And it is, it's juicy for sure. I'm going to talk about it more in detail on my show tomorrow, by the way.
So I know that all of that stuff came from the FBI initially, but I mean, it was a different FBI. Is all of that easily accessible? Did, the new guys at the FBI walk in and say, hey, where's all the Clinton stuff? Or was it tucked away in a secret skiff in the same way that a lot of important stuff was?
In a burn bag, in a burn closet, in a burn room, in a burn floor. Yeah.
I mean, you just think about everything that's been investigated over the years and how easy it is to not file something correctly. I mean, they could so quickly bury something underneath all of that paperwork. And it's even easier if it's digital, right? If they don't put it in the right spot, you can't find it if you search in the correct systems. So it just makes it.
Yeah, when we talk about the Rico Grande investigation, we always started at the Russiagate. Like, hey, they did the Russiagate situation. Yeah. But you can go back further into the Clinton email scandal and how they buried that and then went into the Russiagate. And then you can go back even further with the Benghazi stuff and the Clinton Foundation. Like,
yes,
if they really wanted to, it's all the same people going back further and further and further. Probably, I don't even know how far back you could go. You could go back to the gun walking scandal, Mexico, maybe further than that even. Who knows? Like, from whenever Hillary Clinton started. Maybe it is even as far back as Benghazi.
I agree. I think it's even further. And that was one of the things that I was most excited about with this having renewed attention, because it was you look at what they did to Trump. They had like a fake freaking rumor from somebody in a bar that allegedly said something, and they opened up a counterintelligence investigation. And they did that over and over again with Trump. When you look at Hillary Clinton, you've got a clearly plotted out series of events. Hillary Clinton does something as a member of the U.S. government, visits a foreign country, donations come into the Clinton Foundation, favors go out. It's quid pro quo over and over and over again. And, in regards to what happened at Benghazi, it's quite possible that she was using that private server to communicate about much of what happened during this. because those missiles were transferred through the State Department. Obama went after Petraeus because he wouldn't do what he wanted in regards to transferring these missiles. And once Hillary Clinton got found out for having this private server, I mean, Benghazi would be just one of many things. And Obama, even 2 weeks after the attack, he was still saying that Benghazi was the result of this YouTube video, even though it was obvious at that point that that wasn't what it was. I mean, like, there was already evidence to suggest that it was due to something very, very different. And even more than that, the Taliban that was operating in Afghanistan, they were all too aware of the fact that the administration had been working with them. They had been aiding and abetting them, that they were doing it off book without any congressional knowledge or approval. And so there is a rumor that the Taliban actually blackmailed the Obama administration. There was a release of 5 Taliban generals from Guantanamo. We had talked about this last week with the Bo Bergdahl deal. If you'll remember, a lot of people were like, why in the hell is Obama handing over these 5 super high-level Taliban generals for Bo Bergdahl? Bo Bergdahl walked off of his post. He walked into the desert and he got captured by the Taliban. Like, as if he had anything useful that would measure up in any way to these 5 generals. It didn't make sense, but it definitely makes sense if you look at it from a blackmail perspective, and perhaps having something to do with the illegal transfer of weapons. I mean, I know you're too young to remember the impact of the Iran-Contra affair, but I mean, we've talked about it here on the show. I mean, I was like 7 years old, maybe, and I remember it being, you know, the hearings over and over again, and it was repeated everywhere. And the fact that the United States was transferring weapons to people who were supposed to be our enemies, I mean, it was absolutely huge. Let the arrest begin. We've already had Nick Noe on the show. He's a friend of mine, and we've definitely talked with Nick, so you can actually go back and watch a show that we did explicitly with Nick on his experience related to Benghazi.
Yeah, we had him on a couple episodes in a row back in, gosh, that was like probably a year ago by now.
Yeah. So I think there's an argument to be made that you know, Christopher Stevens' death was all about covering up this weapons deal, and it continued to play out in a series of other inexplicable moves that the administration made. And I also thought that it was fascinating, again, that John Brennan was connected directly to the Clintons, and then he was parlayed into the Obama administration. Of course, he didn't get his role at CIA until the second go-round. But John Brennan, I think, was I think that he was directly involved in, you know, virtually all of these things as well. Another interesting, another interesting connection with Brennan and Libya, and I had mentioned this previously, but Brennan was involved in the compassionate release of the Pan Am Flight 103 bomber. He was a Libyan bomber who blew up a Pan Am flight. It was Scottish flight. And he allegedly had cancer, or he was like near his death, and he was supposed to be in prison for the rest of his life. It was hard enough for them to get him in jail anyways. Part of him being given up by the Libyan government was so that Muammar Gaddafi could essentially do a mea culpa and admit responsibility on behalf of Libya, give the people's families who died on Flight 103 some closure, put this guy on trial, and then put him in jail. There was somebody else too, but they were like, you get one guy. And so in August of 2009, so now in the Obama administration again, John Brennan was involved in getting this guy compassionate release. Primarily behind the scenes, he was making the case for compassionate release. And then in the public, he was like decrying the decision to let this guy out. He was like, you know, oh, it's unfortunate, it's inappropriate, and it's wrong. And when this guy got out, he went back to Libya and he got a hero's welcome. And it was pretty obvious that he wasn't dying. They let him go. But John Brennan, you know, was directly involved in getting that guy. And the reason that's known is because there were documents, secret documents that were obtained by a British newspaper, the Sunday Times. And they showed the conversations that the Obama administration was having with Scottish authorities and with the Libyans to get this guy out. And Brennan is also connected to the underwear bomber. Do you remember the underwear bomber?
I do not.
Okay, so this was also in 2009, Christmas Day, 2009. There was a guy by the name of Umar Farouk Abdullah Muttalib or something like that. He was on a Northwest Airlines flight.
Something like that.
Something like that. He was on a Northwest Airlines flight on Christmas Day, and British authorities had reached out to their counterparts in the U.S. government, and they said that this guy, Umar Farouk, was meeting with al-Qaeda cleric Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen. And this dude's own father had warned the CIA officials at the embassy in Nigeria about how his son was being radicalized, and he was meeting with this al-Qaeda cleric. And this guy was supposed to have been added to the no-fly list, but he was never put on the no-fly list. He was never, had his visa revoked. And John Brennan would have been directly involved in making sure that happened. Very similar to his ensuring that the alleged 9/11 hijackers all got their visas and their ability to fly into the United States as well.
Hold on. Can we talk about the underwear bomber for a second? Did he successfully bomb something?
No,
using it in his underwear? Like
he got caught. But
with a bomb in his underwear.
Hold on. Let me. It's been so long since I've looked into this, but
were they boxers or like whitey tighties, or what kind of underwear are we talking about?
So let me see. I'm going to. Oh gosh. He was only sentenced. Yeah, he was sentenced to life in prison in 2012. Attempted to. Oh no. Hold on. No, okay, I'm sorry. This is just from the Department of Justice talking about his whatchamacallit, conviction. Underwear bomber device. Let me look at that. Okay. Okay, so
I'm trying to find something too.
Yeah.
Attack. Oh, here we go. The underwear worn.
Yeah, this is also around the same time they had the shoe bomber too. It just kept coming up. Okay, I got a picture of his bomber. I got a picture of his undies, dude. You want to see it?
Yeah, I just had it on screen.
Okay. Oh, I was looking. Okay, there you go. You found it. Yeah.
With an explosive packet separated from the top and inserted in the bottom and sewn on.
So did that go off in his did his dick get blown off?
I don't know, dude. Like,
kind of looks like it caught fire there.
He spent 20 minutes in the toilet as the flight approached Detroit and then covered himself with a blanket after returning to his seat. Other passengers heard popping noises and smelled a foul odor. Some saw flames on his trouser leg and the wall of the plane. Then a Dutch film guy held him down while flight attendants extinguished the flames. He was taken to the front where he told a flight attendant he had an explosive device in his pocket. The device was a 6-inch, so it was an average size bomb. Packet containing the explosive powder P10 sewn into his underwear. Wow. That's crazy.
That is so funny. That's too funny. All right.
I believe it must not have
fully detonated. I mean, it sounds like it caught on fire. Definitely
for first and second degree burns to his hands and second degree burns to his right inner thigh and genital. Oh my God, that would hurt so bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. Yeah. So, there was also talk of John Brennan having converted to Islam when he was chief of station in Saudi Arabia. And apparently whoever had been working in Saudi intelligence at that time, had run a counterintelligence operation against John Brennan, and then convinced him to become Muslim. And his seemingly strange activity surrounding these Muslim terrorists, which, you know, were all popping up during this time, kind of back up, you know, it would explain in some fashion his behavior. Also, just a couple of days after the underwear bombing incident, John Brennan gave a speech to Islamic law students at New York University. I didn't even know that there was an Islamic law program at New York University.
Yeah, why would they need that? Why would we have that?
I don't know. I guess because they're trying to bring Sharia in or something like that. But the person who introduced him was the president of the Islamic Society of North America, Ingrid Mattson. And that individual had also been involved with Obama. When he first became president and held his inaugural prayer service, Ingrid Mattson was one of the people who was there. And I guess that the Islamic Society of North America had been caught publicly supporting terrorism on a number of different occasions. And so a lot of people thought that it was really tactless, right? I mean, we just had like another near miss with an Islamic terrorist, this time with the underwear bomber. And then John Brennan goes and gives this speech. You know, I mean, just everybody kind of felt like it was just a bad look at that time. And John Brennan also in 2010 spoke up about trying to help build up the moderate wing of Hezbollah, you know, in Lebanon, you know, and that would kind of fall in line with the Obama administration's development of somewhat terroristic groups throughout his time there. Obviously, ISIS was not so moderate, but they were a full-fledged terrorist organization, but they were definitely funded by elements of the intelligence community. And yeah, I mean, just John Brennan has all of these direct connections to the Islamist organizations. And the only thing that kind of made sense to me was that there must be some love for Islam in his heart. He also, during one of those speeches that he gave, he specifically mentioned just how much he loves. Have you seen that? Haven't you?
I don't think so, but you should show me. But I also think it's fascinating how John Brennan he's connected to literally everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything from the Benghazi shit all the way up through the political persecution of Trump afterwards. Election stuff, Ukraine impeachment, Russiagate. It's wild.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like an 8-minute clip. So obviously we're not going to watch the whole thing, but I will just pull it up to give you a taste of his speaking here. Oh, okay. Hold on. I have to find the tab. It's like the last one. Okay. There we go. Oh, go ahead. You pull it up.
Such thinking is a recipe for endless conflict. We are not at war against terror.
What year is this?
Terror is a state of
2009.
Mind. And as President Obama has said, as Americans, we refuse to live in fear, and we will not. Rather, we are focused on defeating and destroying Al-Qaeda and its violent extremist allies. We are at war with Al-Qaeda and its extremist allies, and any comment to the contrary is just inaccurate. We will.
Okay, and then of course, right around this time, they were transferring Stinger missiles to an Al-Qaeda offshoot with the intention of taking down Bashar al-Assad, who was, you know, arguably the far more moderate version of anything that you might have in the Middle East. And let me see. If I go to Twitter, I bet you I can find the clip.
Zach, did you see? I forgot to bring this up. The other, was it last week we talked about Joe DiGenova issuing those subpoenas?
Yes.
Did you hear that he withdrew them?
I heard that they were withdrawn. Yes, but I don't know. From what I understand, those people are still supposed to come in and speak. I was mystified by this.
Yeah, they were withdrawn in favor of the voluntary interview requests. I did think it was weird. What was that?
Have they volunteered to come in yet?
Well, they already had the voluntary interviews lined up, and I said that they were doing the subpoenas for the headlines. I'm pretty sure I said that on the show with you.
You definitely said that on the show. Okay, I found it. Okay.
What did you find? What are we?
I just found John Brennan talking about his love of Islam. Okay, can you pull that up?
It's already up.
Okay.
That's what she said.
But for more than 3 decades, I have also had the tremendous fortune to travel the world. And as part of that experience, to learn about the goodness and beauty of Islam. Like the president during his childhood years in Jakarta, I came to see Islam, not how it is often misrepresented, but for what it is, how it is practiced every day by well over 1 billion Muslims worldwide, a faith of peace and tolerance and great diversity. وهناك دراسة عربية في جامعة أمريكية في القاهرة، وهذا في سنة 1975 و76. وسافرت إلى الأردن وفلسطين والقدس وتونس وبعد مصر، ساكن في الشرق الأوسط تقريبا 6 سنة. And during a 25-year career in government, I was privileged to serve in positions across the Middle East as a political officer with the State Department and as a CIA station chief in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, I saw how our Saudi partners fulfilled their duty as custodian of the 2 holy mosques of Mecca and Medina. I marveled at the majesty of the Hajj and the devotion of those who fulfilled their duty as Muslims by making that pilgrimage.
All right. So
what the hell did he say? In
talking about the
pilgrimage language that was
the Hajj. Oh, well, I mean, it had the he was talking about his experience visiting Muslim countries during his service to the U.S. government, and just how it was such a beautiful experience. But I mean, he was working with terrorists the entire time. So regardless of, whatever John Brennan says, I think that he's always lying. I do want to use that as an opportunity to segue, because he talked about President Obama's experience as a child in Jakarta. And I think that Barack Obama's life as a CIA cutout is better explained through his family's prior experience working for the CIA, because his mother actually did work for the U.S. government. She worked in, a variety of positions for the U.S. government. That was her front-facing job. She was also working specifically with foreign NGOs like the Ford Foundation, the Asia Foundation, Development Alternatives Incorporated, and the mother of them all, USAID. And
of course,
yes. Throughout the 60s and the 70s, she was placed in Ghana, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and Thailand. And what's also interesting is that even prior to that, she had been trained in speaking Russian, which, of course, you put all of those skills together, and she's a perfect recruit for the CIA. So when she was working in those Asian countries for these development groups, these NGOs, she was working on microfinancing projects, basically. And I'm sure you've heard of these in recent years, but what they'll do is they'll go into an impoverished nation and they will essentially bring in money in the form of microloans to help essentially commoditize and commercialize traditional craft industries so that they can help people in these nations to create sustainable businesses.
How big are the microloans?
Well, I mean, they could be as small as $100. But I mean, the true prize is not, to get the money into these people's hands, but to create the relationships and to get a foothold into these countries. And then, they can basically create a relationship, give them a sense of ownership in something, and then tie it to money that is tied to the USAID and a variety of other foreign entities, working within the U.S. government. So when she would go to these places, she would obviously make connections, and that's very valuable for the CIA. So when she was working at USAID in Indonesia, her boss was a guy by the name of Dr. Donald Gordon Jr., and he wrote a book called Credit for Small Farmers in Developing Countries for USAID. And he was later identified in a book called Who's Who in the CIA as a CIA agent. This guy named Julius Mader, I guess, was a CIA agent, came out and then wrote this book about who the most important people were in the CIA. And Ann Dunham's boss in Indonesia was that guy. Another one of her bosses was Peter Geithner, who, of course, is the father of future Obama Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner. And so these relationships that Ann had made in the CIA and the developing world ended up transitioning into the relationships that Obama had when he came to power. So she went to school at the University of Hawaii. She got a bachelor's and a master's in anthropology. And her thesis was on Indian villagers and how to produce wealth, basically, how to access market capital. So like her job with USAID bringing these microloans in, it was, you know, applicable to what she had done in school. But when she went into Indonesia in the 1960s, at that time, there was a CIA-supported military coup that was currently going on. A guy by the name of General Suharto was funded by the CIA, and he was considered right-wing. And so the current government of Sukarno was a left-wing government. They wanted to destabilize that government, make sure that it didn't go, you know, further to the left and then end up a communist nation. So she went in there and she was making inroads to basically, you know, give the CIA access. And during that time, the CIA, in their support of General Suharto, oversaw the incarceration and mass murder of millions of suspected members of the Indonesian Communist Party. And so these people would be rounded up and murdered brutally. Thousands of them were arrested and imprisoned, but many, many, many more of them were just killed right on the spot. And these people would end up staying in prison for decades. So while she was out there, she would, you know, her front role would be as an anthropologist.
And this is
Obama's
mother. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we covered this on an episode before, didn't we?
I didn't go into as much detail, but I just hit on the main topics. But so she was, you know, a front as an anthropologist and a development worker, but the entire time she was working undercover so that she could get information about the people in these villages. She would figure out if they were communists, if they were sympathetic to the government, or if they would be sympathetic to the incoming government of General Suharto, which was being backed by the CIA. And then she would pass that information on, and obviously the CIA would pass it on to Suharto, and then people would die as a result. So Stanley Ann Dunham, that's her full name. She comes into Indonesia. She's teaching English at the American Embassy in Jakarta. The American Embassy in Jakarta is like one of the largest CIA stations in Asia. And they had a whole bunch of other, you know, satellite stations that would be connected through that. And then agents would be run into all of these different places in Asia and Asian Pacific region. So like Java and Sumatra also were pretty important. And the business, or well, the front organization that she worked for in Indonesia was called the Indonesian American Friendship Institute. And that was based out of Jakarta. And it's always been suspected to be a CIA front. And she had a close associate that was a Muslim woman that worked there. And her name was Adi Sasano. And she was the leader of this right-wing student group that helped General Suharto to overthrow the ruling government of Sukarno. And so while she was there, she had all of these connections to the CIA. It's never been officially like confirmed that she was CIA, but you look at her activity, you look at her behavior, you look at everything that she worked in, and it just screams that this is the only thing that she could have been doing. It didn't really make a lot of sense otherwise. And given all of her language skills, she would have been very, very valuable. And she was then in 1965 married to Lolo Soetoro, who was an Indonesian lieutenant colonel. And it was Lolo Soetoro where Barack Obama got the last name Barry Soetoro. They had initially met when she was at the University of Hawaii's East-West Center. It was like a place where the CIA would bring people from different parts of the world into Hawaii. They would set them up with these relationships and essentially give them training and education, and then send them back out to their home nations so that they could then rise in political power. And then once they got placed, of course, now the CIA has somebody inside that government, and it makes it a lot easier to control things and the flow of world events, basically. And it was thought that her relationship with Lolo Soetoro was directly set up by the CIA. Like they were like, yo, this is perfect. You know, we'll get you married to this guy. You'll end up going back to Indonesia, and then you can kind of help us, with the task of basically overthrowing the government of Sukarno. We will, of course, back up the general, and then everything will be good. And so Stanley Ann Dunham marries Lolo, and they end up, living in this area. And she was in the entire time feeding information back to the CIA, and she would also help Lolo Soetoro, hopefully one day get U.S. citizenship. She could help other people in Indonesia that perhaps were ambitious in politics do the exact same thing. And yeah.
Before you keep going here, is it like actually publicly documented that she was CIA? Obama's mom was CIA?
No, it's not publicly documented. But again,
so is this like speculative here?
I am speculating, but everybody speculates that Ann Dunham was CIA. And you put this together with the other things that we've talked about in regards to Barack Obama's life, the missing parts, the use of cover identities, the numerous names, their presence working around the world. Say the line, Bart. What does that mean? Lumpy and Gingy.
What?
He says, say the line, Bart. I mean, Zach. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So Soetoro rises in power after after the CIA sets him up, and then of course the relationship with Stanley Ann Dunham, and he ends up becoming an executive at Mobil Oil, and they had a Indonesian liaison, Suharto, and the business itself was also helped by Stanley Ann Dunham, and obviously her connection with the CIA. And it's not just her, it's also her father, Obama's grandfather. He was Stanley Armour Dunham, and because Obama didn't have a father, because allegedly Barack Hussein Obama was brought to Hawaii in the same program, the same CIA program to develop international talent that Lolo Soetoro was brought to Hawaii to develop international talent. Barack Obama allegedly got Stanley Ann Dunham pregnant, went back, did not grow up with young Barack or Ann. And so he was essentially raised by his grandparents along with his mom. But his mom was kind of absent because, of course, it's my assertion that she was a CIA agent. So she was doing all of this stuff. But his grandfather served in the 9th Air Force Division in World War II. There are pictures of him wearing military uniforms, which have no insignia, which would seem to indicate that he was part of an intelligence unit. So they're not going to be broadcasting that. And there's also another picture where he's actually with Anne, and they've got an insignia on her dress of an elite school in Lebanon from the 1950s. And Stanley would have, or likely, worked with the CIA or some other U.S. government agency that hasn't been acknowledged while they were in Lebanon. It was a strange time to be doing something like that. Again, Obama Sr. was part of a State Department CIA exchange program that was financed by the Joseph P. Kennedy Foundation. It wasn't just Indonesia. They also brought African leaders to the U.S. They would groom them, and then they would send them back to Africa. And if necessary or possible, they would essentially have them foment civil war if they couldn't rise to power, or if the wrong government was to gain power in whatever nation they were from. So again, I just think that there is no way that you can look at the patterns of Stanley Ann Dunham, her father, and Barack Hussein Obama and not see how they were perfectly placed to be a CIA cutout family. And we know also, John, that this is something that the CIA does. They cultivate talent from within these families, and they will build the children up.
It's still a lot of speculation. You know me, like I'm a guy, I don't like to speculate, and I definitely see where you're going and like how you can get to that conclusion, and they're logical leaps to get there. And then I remember thinking this back when we went through the show, when we went over his birth and stuff back in the day, and how clearly this guy is probably CIA, and it only makes more sense too when you tie it to the Brennan thing, and how like was Brennan really working for Obama, or was it kind of the other way around in a lot of ways, where Obama was kind of doing the will of the CIA like most presidents do? Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going with this. It's just difficult. I want to see the executive order or the document of him being CIA.
I get you. So is it just then total coincidence that the Dunham family in Hawaii are quite literally hanging out with other people who are known to be State Department and CIA, operating the CIA exchange program? She gets set up with one man from that exchange program, and then she completes her degree and she goes to Asia, and then she starts working inside these already known CIA cutout front organizations. And then she gets set up and marries another man, this one from Asia, who was also part of the exact same CIA exchange program and was part of the CIA-backed right-wing revolutionary group that ended up overthrowing the left-wing government of that organization. And her father also has, sketchy ties to intelligence. And the one thing that I can also say is that there was a bar that Stanley Dunham was known to hang out with, and he would bring Barack Obama to that bar, and that was a known CIA hangout as well. I feel like there's too much proximity to the CIA for this not to be part of it. And I mean, the best agents are never going to come out and say, well, I mean, unless you're Patrick, what's his name?
Patrick Byrne.
Yeah, Patrick Byrne. Never going to come out and say I'm CIA unless they get the okay to say that they're CIA.
Of course not.
It's part of it,
Yeah, and again, this is one of those things where we're probably never going to have direct answer. They're never going to come out and tell us these things, but it makes sense, especially like the you said connections. That those are the ones that I think are the most, damning. Like especially these days with people getting money to do rural development stuff or anthropology, whatever she was allegedly doing in foreign countries.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day, like the only legitimate reason I could think of for somebody to be doing that was probably they were doing it on behalf of the CIA of some sort. But still, it's my role on the show to be the speculative one, or not the speculative one. I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Of course,
that's what I'm doing.
Yes. So if you'll remember when we talked previously about Obama's real father, I don't think that Barack Obama Sr. is Barack Hussein Obama's true father. When you look at it, pictures of them together, there's no commonality among the features. Obama is far lighter. I know his mother is white, but Barack Hussein Obama Sr. is black as the midnight sun. That dude is dark. Like, he is like a straight off the continent African. And definitely he was part of that CIA program. And he was part of a group in Kenya, the Kenyan African Democratic Union. And the leader of that party was a guy by the name of Tom Maboya, who was definitely also cultivated by the CIA. And he's the guy who put Obama Sr. into leadership within the party and gave him power within the government. So again, you've got 2 degrees of separation right there to the CIA. And that guy was assassinated. Tom Maboya was assassinated in 1969. Excuse me. And that left, again, a power vacuum for Obama Sr. to continue to rise through the ranks there. Now, another CIA connection to the Obama family is who I believe is the true father of Barack Hussein Obama, which is Frank Marshall Davis. And we went over this previously, but Frank Marshall Davis was a communist who was particularly good friends with Ann Dunham's father, Stanley Dunham. And if he was CIA and his role was to cavort with people that they wanted information on, then it would make total sense for Obama's grandfather to be hanging out with this guy, Frank Marshall Davis, who's a known communist, and to have him around. And he was he was a journalist, all right, but he was also a poet. And it's been alleged by many people that Stanley Dunham's entire job in befriending Frank Marshall Davis was to surveil him so that that information could then be passed on. And the scandal, of course, comes back to his daughter, who was seduced by Frank Marshall Davis. She got pregnant, and then it became necessary to give her a black father for the baby that would not be Frank Marshall Davis, because you can't admit that the communist you're surveilling got your daughter pregnant. But of course, because he's CIA, I believe he is, he's got access to this program, which is already bringing people over from Africa. And they just match Barack Hussein Obama Sr. up with Ann Dunham, and then boom, you've got a black father, and there it is.
He was an absent father too, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he was back in Africa. I mean, but Frank Marshall Davis, he hung around a little bit. He had a relationship with Barack Obama, and Obama actually talked about that in his memoirs.
Hey, we even got a comment on Twitter. Look at that shit.
Oh, really?
Leslie. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, man, I don't know. I wonder if the disclosure we're hoping to get, the CIA stuff, the Rushgate stuff, the Rico Grande, I wonder if it'll ever get to the point of establishing more direct connections between Obama and the intel agencies going back to,
I would hope,
his parents and stuff.
That would be great. That would be great.
I doubt it. I mean,
well,
we're struggling to get like stuff from 2016. Hard to like expect we'll get stuff from the 70s, 60s.
Yeah. I have one more CIA connection in Barack Obama's family. Okay. And that would be his grandma, Madeline Dunham, who was affectionately known as Toots. Madeline Dunham also famously,
what?
Madeline Dunham,
Toots.
Toots. She was affectionately known as Toots, and she died, I believe, right before Barack Obama was elected, which meant that nobody could talk to her, and she was essentially erased from the board. So she had no education, she had no formal training, but she was the vice president of the Bank of Hawaii, which would seem to indicate she must have had some connections. And I think that given her family's relationship to the CIA, it would be totally appropriate for her to be placed into that position. As she worked at the bank as the vice president, she would handle escrow accounts that would be used to pay American Cold War clients in Indonesia, Taiwan, the Philippines, South Korea, and other places. And also, the CIA was known to do business through this bank. And so she, if she is CIA, just like the rest of her family, perfect opportunity to have her there handling all of these big accounts and these payments that would be going out to all of these CIA intermediaries and cutouts. And there was also on the record dealings that the Bank of Hawaii had with the Nugan Hand Bank of Australia, which the CIA had funded through a constitutional coup that they had committed down in Australia when they got rid of Australian Labor Prime Minister Gough Whitlam in 1975. That's on record. So I think that's a direct connection between Barack Hussein Obama's grandmother and Central Intelligence Agency. I mean, I just don't know how many more connections to the CIA you can get. Any chance Toots was a whistleblower? I don't think that she would be a whistleblower. I think that her maybe, I mean, she's pretty old by the time that Obama's about to be elected president. I think that it's more likely that basically in her old age, she might have said something that could have blown Barack Obama's cover. Maybe she was developing Alzheimer's, or maybe she was just getting loose. Maybe it was just decided that it would be easier if she was no longer around. Maybe she was a sacrifice. Who knows?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun going through the Barack Obama stuff. Do we have any more on this, or can we move on to a new one?
Well, I've got a couple of deaths. I wanted to establish the CIA credentials with the rest of his family, because I just thought it was interesting that we had this other connection with John Brennan. And I always assumed, I mean, based upon all of this that I knew about Barack Obama's family, I figured that there must have been a CIA connection between John Brennan and the family, but I could never find that. And I only just recently learned that John Brennan had this prior connection with the Clintons. And then he was brought in. And, I mean, John Brennan's position at the CIA, I think undoubtedly he would have known that something was amiss with Barack Obama. Now, go back to the very first show that we did on this, where where John Brennan's Analysis Corporation breaks into the State Department, steals the passport records for everybody. Now John Brennan has the goods on Barack Obama. And it is, now the best thing that Obama can do is to bring John Brennan into the fold. Who knows? Maybe he wasn't planning on giving Brennan a job in the first place. I mean, maybe Brennan was hoping that he would be able to use that information to destroy Obama's hopes at coming in and be able to help elevate Hillary Clinton, because he had this connection to the Clintons.
Yeah. So you do want to go through more deaths?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll do that.
Working on something else too, a Pizzagate thing.
No way.
Yes.
Tied to Brennan?
Well, I mean, it has nothing to do with this, but I mean, in a manner of speaking, you can connect it because, of course, you have Barack Obama's hot dogs and pizza.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
There was a connection between the Bush family and the Obama's fake family. That wouldn't surprise me. I'll look into that.
Okay. Well, then we'll do that next week and wrap up this series. And then, guys, we are taking submissions, I guess, for any other conspiracies you want us to go through that we haven't already. So make sure you either DM us on Twitter or tag us on Twitter with what you want us to talk about. Should we go through rants probably? Boost.
Babbage says that was a joke.
Yeah, Toots whistleblower.
Okay, it's a fart joke. I get it now.
It's a fart joke. I thought you got that, but
no, I definitely didn't get it. No.
Oh well. 1027 JS sent in a boost for $20. Said thanks, guys. Just want to say thank you, Joe, our fellow North Dakotan. And then we just got a few Rumble rants here. Salt Muncher ODA. He's got big balls and she's got big balls, but Trump has the biggest balls of them all. I don't know. When were we talking testicles? Outside of the underwear bomber.
Underwear bomber.
But this was before that, I think. I don't know. Anyway, but thank you.
Also, hold on, because Medbeds Co. says, can we just do a slice of Pizzagate? It's a pretty dark subject, please. I think that's probably supposed to be a double entendre, a joke, but also serious. So
we've done a deep dive on that already.
Yeah, we did a deep dive on Pizzagate. I'm not going to be focusing so much on like the CP aspect of it. Of course, it's impossible to talk about it and not mention it, but this will be about some specific players that very early on in the whole thing. Yeah.
Keith O'Higgins for $2 says, why is no one talking about Cole Allen or Brian Cole Jr.'s girlfriends? Maybe an incel operation run out of basements. John, try and get an NGO grant for detecting basement incels called badbasements.com. I like that. Clever. Thank you, Keith. $2 from Rise of Tire. To be fair, it could be that a time traveler posted Cole's name and has the pixel sorted Butler image, but isn't Cole Allen. Saying Cole Allen is a time traveler in this theory makes it silly.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that Cole Allen was a time traveler. Yeah, but I think it was just because Josh suggested that Cole Allen created the Henry Martinez account.
Never know. And then $2 from Keith Higgins. John, I think you're just being a rug elitist. You can't stand on third world rugs covering up dirt floors. Touche.
There we go.
Anyway, with that, I think that's all the rants, guys. So, by the way, Deadwood Guard tickets are on sale. Make sure you get those tickets. Badlandsmedia.tv/events. Come join us in Deadwood. It's going to be awesome. For those watching, make sure you give us a follow on all our platforms, Rumble, YouTube. I'll post the YouTube link in the chat again. Guys, I know YouTube sucks, but we're trying to take advantage of it and make money while we can. So do us a favor and go over there and just hit that thumbs up. And other than that, Zach, any closing thoughts? You'll be back on tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow at 5. You'll be back on at 1.
Yeah.
Dominating the airwaves.
Heck yeah. And the sleep state, Cam Kuwata was another Obama victim.
I think that I already mentioned Cam Kuwata. Hold on, let me look at my list, because there was a couple that I only just briefly mentioned because there wasn't like a ton of stuff that was still online about them. Perhaps unsurprisingly, a lot of the people on the list that I put together, anything that was written about them has been removed. Okay, yes, I did talk about Cam Kuwata. There were a couple of Democrat insiders that I think had to be killed so that Barack Obama could rise to power. There was Cam Kuwata. There were 2 super delegates for Hillary Clinton that were both murdered, and then obviously they couldn't support Hillary at the but Cam Kuwata, he was somehow reported to have like witnessed Obama on the campaign trail doing drugs or something like that, and then he just mysteriously died in his house, and his family said we haven't heard from him.
Salt Muncher, they're talking about ballroom. That's what the balls.
Not balls. Just the ballroom. Okay.
I gotcha. All right, everybody. With that, we will see you tomorrow. You guys have a good rest of your evening. Hit that thumbs up. Zach, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, John.
Okay. Catch you later.
Peace.